Hey guys, my name is Ali and I'm a data analytics manager working in Oslo, Norway. In this video, we're going to continue my Data Analyst Portfolio Project where we are analyzing some data from the Olympic Games. In the previous video, we looked at the business problem, we transformed the data we needed. So if you haven't done that so far, you got to go back and you got to do that. So look above me somewhere, there should be a link popping up right now. But in this video, we're going to take that data, we're going to take it into Power BI, we're going to create some calculations, we're going to create a dashboard which aligns with the business problem that we have. And then we're going to take that dashboard, I'm going to show you guys how to put that online, and then you can use it as you're applying for data analyst roles. Before we get the data into Power BI, let's just quickly revise the business problem. As a data analyst working at a news company, you are asked to visualize data that will help readers understand how countries have performed historically in the Summer Olympic Games. You also know that there is an interest in details about the competitors, so if you find anything interesting, then don't hesitate to bring that in also. The main task is still to show historical performance for different countries with the possibility to select your own country. So we got to keep that in the back of our head as we are creating this dashboard. Here you can see what the end result will look like. You can see that I have some filters on the left side. I have year, nation code, competitor, and sport. I have a couple KPIs. Then I have a couple bar charts where you can see number of medals by sport and number of medals per competitor. And then I have how many medals have been given out, bronze, gold, and silver throughout the different years in the Olympic Games summer history. So let's take a look at what I did to get here. So the first thing I did is I had to get some data into Power BI. So I'm going to go to get data and I am going to go to SQL Server. So you need to use the name of the server where you have been transforming your data. So then if I go back to my SQL Server Management instance, you can see up here is where you have the SQL Server name. So I'm just going to right click this, go to properties, and I'm going to copy this name right here. If I go back to Power BI, then we can start by entering that. And then I'm going to use something, not that. I'm going to use something called import mode. So I'm going to import the data into Power BI. Now, I'm also going to add the database name. So that is, in my case, it is Olympic Games, which is the same as the name over here. This is your database. That is the database name. And then I'm just going to copy the query from here and use that in Power BI. And then Power BI is going to query the database and get the same table returned as you have gotten here when you have done your transformations in SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm going to go to the advanced option. Then you can see I can paste a SQL statement. And notice that here it says that it requires the database, which is why I added that up there. That looks good. I'm gonna press OK. Let's see what it says. That should be. Let's try again. There we are. So then what will happen is you get a preview of your data, and I've seen what that looks like based on my transformations in SQL. So this is fine. So I'm gonna load that in, and now it's gonna import all the data from SQL Server. The database based on the query that we have entered. So you'll see now on the right side you are getting some fields, and this is where you're going to get a list of the different columns that we have imported now with this SQL query. The next thing I like to do is I like to give the table a name, so we're going to rename that to Olympic Games Data. And then if you open this menu, you can see that you have the different fields, the different columns that we brought in with our SQL query. So if we go back, you can see this is the end result. I have the same fields. I got some calculations. I'm going to add those soon. The first thing I want to do is I want to start to build some of the outer elements, the heading and the different filters, and then I want to add a couple other things. I like to select my colors early on, so we're going to choose a theme. So I'll choose the classic, and I like to do that in the beginning because if you do that in the middle, when you change the theme, it might change the elements that you have spent some time creating, and then you have to redo those. So do that as one of your first steps. Then I'll add a text box. I'm gonna put that on top. Not too wide. Olympic Games analysis, and we'll, if you like a different text type, feel free to do whatever you want to make it a little bit more individual. Now this has a white background, so I want to make the page background, the actual background of the entire dashboard, a little bit different. So I'm going to go to gray. Let's make that 90%. Come on. Why are you doing that? That's a bit annoying. Okay. Just see how much I want it. Maybe 80% should be fine, and then I'll turn the background on this. So that'll give me a nice border, which I always like to keep around. Then I'm gonna add some slicers. Ooh, that's not right. Let's minimize that. Now you can tell here what I'm doing is I'm aligning it, so you can see the red line shows up. And then I usually hold down left shift and I press the down button, which moves it a certain amount of pixels. I think it's 5 downwards, and it makes these nice borders and everything gets aligned really nicely. So I have year, nation code, competitor, and sports. So let's drag in year. So then I have that. I like to use the drop down version. So I'm going to make it the right size. I'm going to turn on the search options. And then white background, transparency 0. Then I can just copy that. Control C, copy, paste. I align it, shift down. And I think I had nation code. So now we're starting to do something so I don't have to repeat it. Copy, paste, line it up, 1 down. We had competitor. Here we are, and last, sports. Line it up, 1 down, sports. So there we have the different filters. And already now, what does that mean? I am fulfilling the criteria to be able to filter based on different requirements. So year allows you to filter over time. Nation code allows for you to filter on a country, a nation. And I added competitor and sport because I think it's useful. You can choose a competitor and see how he has done. You can choose a sport and see how that has developed over time. The next thing I want to do is I want to add these calculations. So what I like to do is if you go to enter data, it's going to create a table for you. And when you add calculations to a table, you get a calculation table. I like to put them in the same place. So we'll name this calculations. So now you can see we have 2 different tables. We have one with the data we loaded, and then we have this calculations table. Notice the icon. The icon looks like a table icon. We're gonna add calculations, and then we're gonna change it to a different type of icon, which makes it easier to understand that this is a calculations table. So if we go here, we're gonna right click and new measure. Now I want to count how many competitors we have, and I remember that there is a unique ID identifier in the table for each competitor, so I can count that distinctively. So we're gonna go hash competitors, number of competitors equal distinct counts, and then I will use the ID fields, and that's pretty much it. So you can see here, calculation icon, table icon, a little bit different. Let's do one more. Now I also know that there is one row in the data set for each medal that has been given out. So I also want to count that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count the rows in the table, I think that's an easy count because I haven't added anything that I can use as a distinct row counter. I could have added a like an index field or a 1 for each row and then just sum up the ones, but we can use count rows. So number of medals equals count rows, and then the name of the table, Olympic Games data. So that's another measure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hide this column, and notice now it changed to a calculation icon, which makes it easier to separate where are my calculations, where is my data in the Power BI file. Now if I remember correctly, did I do anything else to this? I did not. So this looks fine. Okay. So now I can start to select the different elements that I want to use in the data in the dashboard. So I'll add a card, a KPI card, and I will align that up. I'll move it over one spot, and I will do number of competitors on that one. And then once again, I'm going to change the background. And then we are going to use the data label. I'm going to change it to none so that I get the full value in my KPI. And I can see that I want to format this calculation. So there we are. Now I have a nice 1000 separator. I'll do the same for medals right away. Perfect. So now I can just copy this KPI, paste it, and I'll put it next to that one. And then on the right side, I can uncheck competitors and I can check number of medals. I have the exact same KPI with the exact same formatting, and it's just very efficient, and you get a nice look and feel when things are formatted and created the same way. The next thing I want to do is I want to create these two pie charts. So let's do that. So we'll add the pie chart, and I'll do it the exact same way. I'll line it up. I will add a number of competitors to values. So we have that, and it is by the gender. So I'll add that to details. So you can see we have female, we have male. I'll name it gender. So that's fine. I want to fix the background again because I want the white background. So there we have that. What else? The colors. I will add the male will be the darker, female will be the gray. It's easy to separate. And then I can make the title a little bit easier to read. There we are. So I'll do the same thing. I'll copy that, paste it, and the only thing I have to change now is the calculation, and I get the exact same object. Looks just as fine. I can see that on the detail labels I want to have smaller text, and I want to show, we can do the category and the percentage of total. That's fine. I'll do the same on this one. Percentage of total and a little bit smaller. Great, so now I have some details about the genders based on medals, some details about genders based on competitors. What else do I want? I want a bar chart which shows number of medals by sport and by each medal, and then I want a number of medals by competitor and different medal types. So let's go back to this one. We'll add a bar chart, I believe, and it is a stacked bar chart. So line it up, and then I will add sport to the axis. I will add number of medals as the value. Okay, so this is a percentage-wise stacked bar chart. I want this one. Then I want the medal on the legend. So I can see now that actually when I'm counting number of medals and I'm just counting the different rows, there are some values where we have something as not registered. and I don't want to count that as a medal. I only want to count the medals that have actually been registered. So we have to make another metric that only focuses on either bronze, gold, or silver. So let's do that. So if you go new measure, then we're gonna go, we can call it number of medals registered. So we'll do calculate, equals calculate, and we'll reuse the measure we had before, number of medals, and then I'll add a comma, and we'll just filter. Let's do the Olympic Games data, where medal equals bronze, I think that is where medal equals gold. Medal equals silver. Now I always like to format my DAX because it's much easier to read. So I'm going to use something called DAX Formatter, which you can find online, just look it up. And when I click format, it's going to make it nice and easy to read like that. So I now paste that in, it's much easier to read. And if we press enter, let's see if I did this the right way. Number of medals registered, if we replace that, you can see now that the not registered value is not part of it anymore. So I gotta go back, I gotta change that also here. Number of medals. And we'll add 1,000 separators there. And we'll use that here so we get the same statistics there. And I'll also do the name there. And then I want to finish up the formatting on this bar chart so that we can reuse that other places. Let's go to the title. Let's make that nice and dark. So that's good. Let's turn on the background. We'll put that to white. And then we'll rename it to number of medals. That looks good. We don't need the legend name. We already know that it's bronze, gold, or silver. And I want to turn the data labels on. In the data labels, I want to do display units and none so you can see the full values. This looks good. Now just for aesthetic purposes, I will change the colors to bronze, gold, and silver to be actually bronze, gold, and silver. Data colors, bronze. This looks bronze-ish, gold. That looks gold, and silver. Maybe a little bit dark. Let's make it a little bit darker, it's easier to see. That looks silver. So now, you know, there's some alignment between the different color types, and it's still easy to separate what are the different colors and the different metals. So we have this by sport medal. Now I can once again Control C. I'll paste that, and now I just need to align that, move her over, and I can make this longer. So this was number of medals by sports and the medal type. Now we want the same thing, but I want it per competitor. So I can just go in, I can remove, or I can add competitor name, then I can remove the sport, and I can just do competitor. It becomes a lot easier to reuse and make the dashboard look really nice and you know, just clear if you format one object first and you reuse that formatting for other types of objects. So we have two different bar charts now, and we have, you know, consistent formatting. Let's take the last one. We'll copy that one. I'm going to make this into a line chart. So I'll just align it first and drag it over, and then I will change it to a line chart. And the only thing I have to do that, I have to replace the sport on the axis with the year. And then I'm going to sort it by the year, and we want to sort it ascending. So now I have that last part. You can see there's a detail here, Olympic Games analysis, and I pretty much have what I want now. So now I have a dashboard where I can filter on different values here on the left. I can go into a sport. I can look at only that, see that how that has developed over time. I can choose a competitor. I can choose a specific country code. If I look at Norway, I can see how that has been over time. And I can see how the different medals have also been given historically for the summer games. I can even go in and use these bar charts as filters if I want to, and I can choose specific competitors if I want to. So in terms of designing the dashboard, this definitely fulfills the business problem that we had, and there's no point doing this more or less advanced. This is good enough. The last thing I want to show you guys is how do I get this onto my workspace so I can put it online, and then I can include it into my portfolio. So I'm going to go to publish. I'll save this. Let's just call it test and save. So when you hit publish one more time, you're going to publish it to my workspace. What's going to happen then, it is going to be put online into the Power BI service, where you can store your reports and then make them available to the internet. So that's a success. This is my workspace. If you look down here, you can see that we have the report there now. So if I open this, now I have it. It's online. The only thing you have to do left is you have to go to embed report and then publish the web public. So if you're creating a dashboard at work, you don't want to do this because then you can publish some sensitive data. But since this is just for demo purposes, this is totally fine. So you'll create embed code and then publish, and that will give you a link. You copy that, you paste it into your browser. You can see this gives you a link directly to the dashboard, and then you can use this, you can share this with other users. If someone wants to see it or if you want to demonstrate it, this is an easy way to send it to them. And then really you just have to take this and use it on your portfolio project website, and then that's pretty much it. Now you have it online, and it's super easy to share, and they can go in, they can click around, they can test it and get that dynamic experience of what you have created. Now let me show you guys how I have structured this. Now this is my demo portfolio, and I'll add a link to that in this description. But here I have a couple different projects. So this is the one that I want to show you guys, and I'll quickly go through how I've done this. The first thing I did is I added some pictures on top. I added the business problem, and I've added a couple comments to explain what we have done as we have created this Data Analyst Portfolio Project. So the first thing is the business problem. What was it? To help the user understand what is our challenge. Then I am showing the SQL code that we use to create the Olympic Games view, so they can see what you have done here. I have some comments that also explains this. The last part is to show them the data model, which is in Power BI. Then I have added the calculations, and I can see now I need to add the last calculation that we actually made in this video because I actually found a mistake. And then the last thing is I've just written a couple sentences about the dashboard. I've added the link to it, and they can actually go in, they can click on it, and then they can use that to test out what it is that you have created, which is also a very nice feature. It gives it sort of that dynamic twist. What this does, it takes the user who wants to understand your skill set, and it takes them through the journey from the business problem all the way to the end, and how you have managed that entire process, which is quite important because it gives them an idea of how you would solve that in a data analyst role at their company. So now you have taken that transformed data, we have put it into Power BI, we have created a dashboard, and I've also shown you guys how you guys can put this on your portfolio and structure it there. If you guys have any questions to this, the entire video or the process, let me know in the comments and I will help you guys out there. If you guys want to learn more about data analytics portfolios, then check out the videos you can see on my screen now. One of them will show you guys how you can create a different type of data analyst portfolio which focuses on sales, and the other one will show you guys which data analyst project you should select for your data analyst portfolio.